So if this is your first time seeing me present, Tatiana and I have been doing obviously these collaborations for some time now. I think this is my 6th or 7th training that I've done for the Network After Work community. If this is your first time seeing me, just drop a Y or a yes. If you've seen me before, type an N or a no. I just want to see, take a temperature of the room. So yes, I'm seeing some no's. Awesome. So, again, for those that have seen my presentations before, so grateful to be back here with you today. For those that are new to me, obviously I'm grateful to meet you here and be with you today. So we're going to be saving about 10 to 12 minutes at the end of today's presentation for Q&A. So any questions that you have, you're going to want to put them in the Q&A box where Tatiana and I are going to do rapid fire Q&A at the end. So what we like you to do is not use the chat for your questions. You're going to use the Q&A box because, again, I'm going to take you guys through some exercises today. So if everybody is clear on that, just drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Also, you will notice that I'm going to prompt you to use the chat. And it's not so much of a strategy or a technique. I just know the more present and available all of you are, as Tatiana mentioned, close out your tabs, put your phones down, the more information you're going to retain from this. So just to take a temperature of the room, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being my content is leading to sales, 1, nothing is happening whatsoever. Where would you guys rate yourselves on a scale of 1 to 10 of your content actually doing what you want it to do? So I'm seeing a lot of 1s, a 3, some 4s. So I just want to let everyone know that that's absolutely normal. I've been actually coaching and teaching my strategy on LinkedIn for about 11 years now. I'm gratefully sponsored by Caesars Entertainment now. I speak to some of their largest global accounts, teaching some of this strategy, which I'm going to go over with all of you today. And what I want you all to walk home and away with today after today's session is not only the types of content that you should be creating each week on LinkedIn, but how that can lead to conversations, which can also lead to conversions in your business. So if everybody is ready to dive on in, just drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Now, as we dive in, I'm just going to let everyone know that obviously there are some things that I want to go over with all of you first. I want to give everyone kind of like a 10,000 foot view of LinkedIn, because the fact of the matter is, I still to this day, the companies that I train, the sales teams that I work with, the individuals that I consult, people still are not unlocking all of the power and potential that LinkedIn has. And that's what I want to unlock with all of you today. So the biggest question that obviously wants to be answered is, how do I create content on LinkedIn that sells without selling? I mean, would you guys all agree? Just drop a Y or a yes. Would you all agree that it does not feel good to be sold and pitched to, whether it be a message or someone's content? That's the last thing that we want to do. We want to build relationships on LinkedIn. We want to have business allies, right? We want to link arms with other people. We all want to help each other win. And if you're trying to just openly sell and pitch, that's not going to bring people closer to you. It's just going to push them further away. So just a quick little overview of LinkedIn before we dive in is that there are 7 reasons why I fell in love with LinkedIn and why I'm still in love with LinkedIn. And the first thing is that the connections that you can have. You're only allowed 5,000 quote unquote friends on Facebook, but you're allowed 30,000 plus connections on LinkedIn, 6 times more. So the fact of the matter is your network is in direct correlation to your net worth. So you need to build a value-added network of potential clients and customers, and obviously value-added business allies. So can everyone see my, just drop a Y or a yes if you guys can see my screen. So drop a Y or a yes if you can see my screen very, very clearly. Okay, good. I got a new monitor for the holidays last year. Okay, just making sure. All right. Now, income-wise. So the average income that someone makes on LinkedIn is actually $100,000 a year or more. compared to that of Facebook and Instagram, which is $30,000 a year or less. So again, you want to make sure that the relationships that you're building, the content that you're creating, you're marketing it to the right people. And again, that's not to say that there aren't good people on Facebook and Instagram, but you're going to have a better opportunity to have your content convert into sales when it's being shown to the right people. So if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Just want to make sure you guys are clear on that so far. Awesome. Now, demographic wise, the average age of someone on LinkedIn is 25 to 55 years old compared to that of Facebook and Instagram, which is 18 to 29. So if you are looking to network more professionally and provide value added content more professionally to the right type of professionals, LinkedIn is where you're going to want to do that. But also lead gen. So your content is a lead generation source. And here's the thing. There was a study done that was reported by Forbes a couple of years ago that found over a 6-month period through using the organic free platform of LinkedIn versus Facebook, they found that LinkedIn was 277% more effective for organic lead generation than Facebook. Not 100%, not 200%, nearly 300% more effective. Now, the other great thing is location. So your content has a global reach. And again, when you're building your network, that's what's going to draw that global reach, because you can search and connect with people by city, by state, by company, by province, anywhere in the world, but also the user base. There's 8.5 billion people on LinkedIn or Facebook and Instagram, and there's only 800 million plus on LinkedIn. Now, you may say, well, Scott, shouldn't I be spending time on that larger network? No. Just because there's more people on those platforms doesn't mean it's better. What that says to me, the more people, the less likely my content is going to be seen. The less amount of people on the platform, the greater the availability my content will be seen. So if that makes sense, drop a number 1 in the chat box. I just want to make sure you guys are clear. Just drop a number 1 in the chat box. And again, one quick reminder for those that jumped on late, I've created a bonus training for all of you guys next week. I have a free ticket for all of you. What Tatiana is going to do is she's going to drop the link right there in the chat. Anyone that clicks on that, it will unlock a free spot for you. But also you can email me at scott@scottaaron.net for some bonus resources as well. So all that's right there. And I'll mention it a couple more times before the end of today's presentation. Now, networking is also important. This is what's also going to lead to obviously proper content. Facebook is the barbecue of social media. That's where people go to kind of hang out, commiserate, and share things about their life personally. And Instagram is the Bravo TV of social media. It's reality TV. You know, people are posting things that they think people want to see and know. It's all filtered. And what I love about LinkedIn is that it's a global networking event every single time you log on. That's the benefit to it. It's a global networking event. So if you're not networking, if you're not building that type of connection with people, you're not doing business. And I love what Andy Crestodina says. He's an amazing, amazing online marketer. He's on LinkedIn. He said, if you're not making friends in business, you're not in business at all. And we want to be making friends in business because those are the people that are going to refer people back to us. Now, 2 last facts. If you look at the top right statistic, 93% of all B2B marketers consider LinkedIn to be the most effective site for lead generation. So again, your content that you create can lead to leads that coming into your business that convert into sales. Now, the other thing is we're always looking for consistent leads, right? If you look at the middle statistic, LinkedIn is considered most effective for B2B lead gen. 80% of all social media B2B leads come from LinkedIn. So if you're not taking full advantage of this, you need to start doing that today. So if you are ready to start taking full advantage of everything that LinkedIn provides, not just building your network, but creating content, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Awesome. All right, let's get to work. Now, here's the thing. You know, why is it important to only connect with specific people on LinkedIn? So you have to understand, it's not about just creating content. You have to create content for specific people. So you want to be clear. People ask me all the time, Scott, how do you get people to engage in your content? Well, you have to have the right people in your network to engage in your content. So everything starts with the network that you're building. If you are providing tips for small business owners, but you're not connecting with small business owners, you're connecting with CFOs, CEOs, lawyers, and doctors, do you think they're going to engage in your content? Drop a Y or a yes or an N or a no. If you're not connecting with small business owners, exactly, no, because you're connecting with the wrong people. You want the right people to engage in your content. And what you also have to understand is that there is search engine optimization embedded in LinkedIn that's in your favor. Take advantage of it. You have to understand everything that you put into your content that is keyworded is going to be redirected to the ideal people that want to see it, want to engage with it, and want to connect with you. Use specific keywords that relate to your ideal client and customer. So let's do a little bit of a brainstorming session really quickly. So drop into the chat first and foremost. What do you do for a profession? What's your professional title? What is it? What industry are you in? So just drop that in the chat. I just want to find out financial services, leadership coach, Marcom, digital ads, health and wellness. Awesome. IT management. Beautiful. Love it. Now, so let's think about this. So now that you guys have kind of brainstormed all the things that you do, what are some specific keywords that you can mention in your content that would be attractive to that person that you want to work with? Right? So for me, I would put, maybe lead gen or increased sales, client acquisition, F&B marketplace, right? Health and wellness, culture, employee appreciation, confident leaders. Wonderful. So these are all key words that should be mentioned in your content. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to be mentioned every single time. Relationships, yes, love that. Use the SEO in your profile and in the content that you create. What you have listed in your about section, in your headline section of your profile, that also should be related to the content that you're providing. So if everybody is clear on this aspect first, making sure you're connecting with the right people, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Just want to make sure you guys are with me. Beautiful. Now, who are the best connections to have on LinkedIn that will engage with your content, right? This is another big question that comes up, right? Who are the best connections that I should have? You want to make sure that you connect with those people that are most likely to engage in your content. So let's do another brainstorming session. So now here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to type in the chat right now, from a profession or industry standpoint. So industry title, professional title, who are the best types of connections that you could have in your network? Accountants, lawyers, doctors, business owners. Do a brainstorming dump right now. Who are those board members, personal trainers? Love that, Nancy. People, operations, HR, event managers, property managers, founders, IT professionals, product managers. Again, we all have the answers to our own questions. So when people say, who should I connect with? You guys know. You know who you best connect with. Building owners and organizations, founders, awesome. CEOs of food suppliers. You want to connect with those who could best benefit from what you post. So drop a Y or a yes if you now are seeing the correlation between your content and your connections, right? Your connections correlate to your content and your content correlates to your connections, right? The content and connections go hand in hand. You also want to connect with those who are power partners or business allies for introductions to your ideal clients. So let me give you a quick example, and then I want you to type what you feel is a good power partner in the chat. So here's what I'll say is, if I was a divorce attorney, a great power partner for me would be an estate attorney. And why? Is because when someone is going through a divorce, obviously there may be a split of assets or they're splitting their estate, and they could be good power partners. So using that as an example, who would be a great power partner for you? Type it in the chat. Who would be a great referral partner? Non-technical angel investors, workplace services, massage therapists, chiropractors. Yes. So you have to be first clear on who you want to connect with, because those are going to be the people that support you, not just in your content, but everything that you do, right? DMCs, event companies, hotel event services. Love that, Jennifer. These are all important things that each and every one of you needs to get clarity on before you even start producing content. You want to connect with people that have similar pain points. You want to build that rapport and trust. And those that do create the most ideal connections will also earn the most income with the efforts that they have with the content that they create. So if that's clear, just type the word clear in the chat when you can. Right. Awesome. This is how it all begins. Now that you have clarity around the types of connections that you want to have, you have to understand that it is the best place to build your personal brand. Now, type in the chat, what is something that salmon do that most fish do not do typically? What's something that salmon do that most fish do not do? Yep, they swim upstream. So I want each and every one of you to grasp that concept, and I want you to embody it. And I want all of you to be a salmon in a world of fish with the industry that you're a part of. I don't want you to go with the traditional thinking. I don't want you to go with the grain. I want you to go against the grain. I want you to go upstream, right? I want you to carve your own path. I want you to blaze your own trail. You want to be a salmon in a world of fish with the content that you create. You want to create your own voice, your own messaging, and you want to attract people by that message that you have in the content that you're creating. This is how you find your tribe. This is how you find your clients, your customers, your business partners, your business allies, and this is how you're going to grow your business. If that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. I want all of this to sink in. You have to be clear. And the other big thing that I'm going to remind you guys of, you have to have intention. You do not want to throw spaghetti at the wall. You want to have clear intention behind what you want to do. LinkedIn right now, still to this day, has the highest organic engagement, visibility, and reach on all of social media right now. Now, what's the best way to message a connection on LinkedIn that has engaged in my content? And this is a big thing. I teach this all the time. Now, drop a number 1 in the chat if anyone has ever engaged in your content, whether they've liked, whether they've commented, whether they've shared. So anytime someone engages in your content, you want to choose 1 or 2 people and you want to send them a nurturing message. And it could be as simple as this, stating their name. Hey, Tanya, just wanted to, let you know that I appreciate you engaging in my content and supporting my message, right? So you state their name and you tell them the reason why you reached out without selling or pitching. And then you can finish up with a specific question of whether they want to connect offline or not. And it could be as simple as like, hey, Tanya, just wanted to reach out and say thank you so much for engaging in my content the other day. It means so much to me. And if you had the time, would love to set up a time to talk offline to find out more about you and your business, share more about me and mine, and how we can support one another here on LinkedIn. You're doing a couple things there. Well, number 1, you're letting and you're giving that person that big sense of gratitude that you do appreciate them, but you're also letting them know, hey, I'm available. Let's network. Let's connect. Let's see how we can support each other. And the final thing that you do is you finish with a call to action. Is there a day or time this or next week that works for you? Questions lead to answers. Statements lead to nowhere. I always tell people you have to ASK to GET. You have to ask in order to get. And so here's the fun thing. As you start connecting with the right people that would most likely engage in your content, now you're starting to create content. It's getting more engagement. Guess what? You have more opportunities of people to message, to get connected offline so you can create some more sales. So if that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Now, I know there were some new people that have jumped on recently. If you missed my announcement from earlier, I've actually created a special link for everyone that's on here today that will get a free ticket to an event that I'm doing next week. Tatiana actually just dropped it there. It goes a little bit deeper into content that you need to create on LinkedIn. So if you click on that link, it'll obviously unlock a spot for you for all next week. But also anyone that emails me, which is the email right there, scott@scottaaron.net, and you just type in the subject line resources, I will send you some bonus resources that you can apply to everything that you learned today. Now, the other thing that we need to understand is use those push notifications to create more leads and income. This is a bonus, right? This is bonus. What you need to do, how many of you, just drop a Y or a yes, how many of you use the happy birthday, the work anniversary, new job messages to engage in conversations? Good. If you don't, make sure that you do. These are amazing ways to further connections. So if you're sending those every single day and you get a response back, so if I wish Greg a happy birthday and he says, thanks so much, I can wrap back around to connect. Greg, you're so welcome. I hope you had a great birthday. Would love to hear about, you and more of what you're working on. Share more about me and what I'm working on and how we can support one another here on LinkedIn. Anytime for a call or a Zoom this or next week. You just nurture people. Ask for conversations. What's the worst thing that they're going to say? No harm, no foul. Move on to the next person. But most importantly, fear is your friend. And I want you to type this into the chat. If you are ready to lean into the fear of doing the things that you need to do on LinkedIn, type fear is my friend, right? Type fear is my friend. If you are ready to lean into all of this, connecting with the right people, creating that great content, you want to create meaningful connections with people, right? You don't want to just post and pray, meaning you're posting and you're hoping people reach out to you. We call this the Field of Dreams effect, right? Type a Y or yes if you've seen the Field of Dreams. Most people have seen it at this point. It's a wonderful movie. And what's the big thing from that movie, right? If you build it, they will come, right? And so don't think if you post it, they will show up. They're not going to. Now, there's going to be some engagement, but you got to further those meaningful connections. When you're growing a business, it's a contact sport. It's a contact sport. You got to contact people. Even though it's important for you to brand yourself with the content that you're providing, you got to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. Whatever is uncomfortable becomes comfortable. And here's how you know you're doing big things. When being uncomfortable is you're comfortable, you are on the right path. When being uncomfortable becomes you're comfortable, you're on the right path. If that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a number 1 in the chat. You want to get uncomfortable as often as possible. I can't stress that enough to all of you. All of us were meant for greatness. All of us were meant for bigger and better things. When you embody that and when you can really harness that power and that potential that you have, nothing will stop you. Most people are just posting and waiting for people to reach out. Again, I'll say it again. It's a contact sport. You can't wait for people to reach out to you. You have to engage other people. Those that reach out to most people, to reach out to those new people most often are the ones that are going to win. So if you guys want to win, type WIN, type win in the chat if you're ready to win on LinkedIn. Right. We all want to win. It's a win-win for everybody, right? Because if you're providing a value-added service, it's making that person's life better. It's helping that person out. That's the big thing. We want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. Now, let's get into the content. So if you guys have taken some good stuff away so far, just drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Just want to make sure that everybody is kind of good. Because remember, your connections correlate to your content. So I wanted you guys to first get clarity on the connections that you have, how to nurture people. But there are some things that you need to know. When you are creating content on LinkedIn, it has to educate people. You are not on there to sell and pitch. You're on there to educate. You're on there to make sure that you're leaving people better. Your content must inform others. You have to build the know, like, and trust. No one ever buys anything from anyone that they don't know, like, or trust. I want you guys to think about that concept really quickly. Think about the last thing that you purchased. No matter how much the price was, whether it was a cup of coffee, whether it was food at a restaurant, maybe a piece of technology, you had almost 100% certainty and trust that you wanted to buy that because you knew, liked, and trust that company or person. If that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a number 1 in the chat. The same goes for us. If we're not building the know, like, and trust with our network, with what we're doing on LinkedIn, no one's going to buy anything from us. No one's going to engage with us, and no one is going to want to talk to us. The big thing is this. Before we get into the types of content that you should create that could lead to sales in your business, you have to produce that content from what I call the PSP, the passenger side perspective, not the DSP. So here's the difference. The driver side perspective is your perspective on a topic. The passenger side perspective is the perspective of the person that you're looking to impact the most. So a lot of people, what they fail to do is they don't market with the other person. They're marketing with themselves. So if you're not providing tangible tips and takeaways of known pain points that people have or known areas of struggle in their business, it's not going to draw them closer to you. It's going to push them further away. You have to put yourself in the passenger seat of the vehicle that you're driving. You have to put yourself in the shoes of that person that needs what you have to offer. And when you can put yourself in that position, you'll create amazing content, because you know what? Your content will be relatable. What creates the most engagement in content is relatable content. So if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. You want to be relatable. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to come on here today and tell you that you got to post 18 times a day, 18 times a week. Before I go over my strategy that I would love you guys to deploy, how many times a week are you posting on LinkedIn as it stands right now? How many times? None, 2 to 3, 0, 1. Okay. At least 7, 1 or less, 5, 2. Okay. Let me ask you this. Type of feeling in the chat of what it would feel like to be posting consistently 3 times a week on LinkedIn that is value added and building trust and rapport. Happy? Great? Proud? Yeah. There's no negative to that. There's no negative to that. So when you're posting on LinkedIn, no product pictures, no lifestyle pictures, no bait posts. That's what people do on Facebook and Instagram. You do not want to do what other people do on Facebook and Instagram. You don't want to do that on LinkedIn. So how often should I post on LinkedIn? Again, 3 times a week. And here's what you want to be doing. And I'm going to kind of break down all 3 of these. So, and Scott is right. Some people do that on LinkedIn. It is so it's like that's nails on a chalkboard to me. I can't, it's just inappropriate. It's not what the platform, it's a business platform. There's better use of people's time and energy, and it's all clickbait, and it's not fun. You know, whenever I see that stuff, I either unconnect with that person or I just mute them so I don't see any of their content ever again, because it's not, everything that you post should be value added where it's going to leave someone better professionally or personally. It's not about, you know, bragging on oneself and this, like you can tell, you could smell it a mile away. So you want to commit to 3 things. Number 1, you want to commit to doing 1 video per week, 2 to 4 minutes in length. You can always start with 30 to 60 seconds. And this is going to be a great way for you to build a know, like, and trust, because people can see you, feel you, and hear you. The second thing is commit to doing 1 poll question per week. This is your market research. People ask me all the time, well, Scott, how can I find out what I need to talk about? Ask your audience. That's what LinkedIn polls are for. For those of you that are in the Network After Work group that I'm in with you, I ask you guys twice a week, you know, pain points, area of struggle, because you know what? What I then do is I take that market research poll, and then I write 1 long form post or newsletter edition that's based on the results of that poll. So if I ask a question and it reveals a very, very clear and apparent problem that people are having in business, guess what? I'm going to solve that problem by providing a value-added piece of long-form content that speaks to it. So if that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Everything should be congruent. All of your content. It should be value. I actually theme out my weeks. I talk about the same thing all week. I talk about it on video, I talk about it in a poll, and I talk about it in written context, because everybody engages in different kinds of content differently. You have to brand yourself. Have to brand yourself. You need to be the authoritative figure that you were meant to be. Now, 2 quick things. Number 1, as you have questions, use the Q&A box. So there's 2 questions in there now. Any questions that you have from anything that we've covered so far, use the Q&A box, because Tatiana and I are going to do rapid fire Q&A for the final 10 to 12 minutes of today's presentation. But also, she's going to drop 2 links again. If you guys missed it, 1 will unlock a free ticket to my bonus training next week with all of you if you would like to join. You just put your name and email and you'll get that information. The second thing is, if you email me, which she's going to drop that email in there as well, scott@scottaaron.net, just in the subject line, just type resources and I'll give you the bonus resources as well. So all that information is in the chat. Now, you need to be that authoritative figure that you were meant to do. So how to craft an engaging video on LinkedIn, right? How do I do that? Well, start with a known problem your ideal client is having. So type in the chat right now, with the ideal client that you guys actually talked about earlier, what is a known problem that you know people have within your business? What's a known problem? What is that known problem? So just type it in there. Misconceptions about your field. Yeah. And here's the thing. When you are creating those videos, you want to relate yourself to the problem so they know that you've been there before, right? You know, becoming known in thought leadership. So, you know, talk about, like, I've been there. You know, this is how I became known in thought leadership. You want to provide 2 to 3 relevant tips to that problem and how you fixed it, right? So if I said, you know, hey, everybody, Scott here. I wanted to give you, you know, 2 very easy tips on how to create more leads online. And, you know, why I'm talking about this today is because there was a time in my business where my pipeline ran dry. I didn't know where my next lead was going to come from. So what I wanted to do with you guys today is give you 2 tangible things that I did that you can do right now to always have your pipeline filled with prospective clients. Number 1, do this. You give a little explanation. 2, I did this. Here's a little explanation. And then you finish with a call to action of what they took away most. So you can simply say, I hope you guys found great value in today's video. Please comment below and let me know what was your biggest takeaway from today's training. Love and gratitude, and I'll talk to you next time. Done. That's it. 2 to 3 tips that relate to things that you already know about. That's the big thing. You want to talk about things that you know about. So if that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Just want to make sure you guys, okay, awesome. So we have about 8 minutes left, and then we're going to open it up for some rapid fire Q&A. So if you want to use the Q&A box, throw your questions in there. So crafting that engaging video on LinkedIn, start with that known problem, relate yourself to that problem, provide 2 tips of how you fix that problem, and finish with your call to action. If 2 to 4 minutes seems like a daunting task for you right now, that is okay. That's okay. Start with 1 tip in 60 seconds, right? And Candy says, I like the known problem, relate yourself with the problem, etc. So again, make sure that all of your content relates to the people that you're connected to. Now, how to craft an engaging poll on LinkedIn? Now, I know that there's 2 camps of people on LinkedIn. There's people that hate them and there's people that love them. And I know why you hate them, because I hate them for the same way. You don't want those spammy polls, right? I'd love to hear from you. Are you a dog or cat person? Or when do you put your Christmas tree up? Before or after Thanksgiving? How do you take your coffee, with or without cream? How is that a business-related poll? How is that going to help someone? What is that going to do to help someone's business? So if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Just want to make sure you guys are with me. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Last minute Halloween costume. What do you got? Polls are for market research. They're to find out what your ideal network and clients are struggling with. If you've ever seen any of my polls, I'm always asking a question about if people knew about X, Y, and Z, right? And they do have the highest impressions. I'll give you an example. I'm doing a poll tomorrow because you can actually pre-schedule your polls. And a lot of people didn't know that. So guess what my poll is tomorrow? Did you know that you can pre-schedule LinkedIn polls? Yes or no? And again, if a lot of people say no, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a long form piece of content explaining and showing how to do that. You want to make sure that your poll is a direct lead into a pain point that your ideal client is having. So people want to work smarter, not harder. So some of you right here didn't know that you can do that. Yeah, it just got unlocked. I mean, it might still be in beta, but I can do it. I'm actually doing it tomorrow. So you always want to ask relevant poll questions to your ideal audience. Ask questions that are known pain points or areas of struggle or bottlenecks in their business or kinks in their business hose. So if that's clear and if that makes sense, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Awesome. And if you have gotten significant value so far from today's training, just drop a number 1 in the chat. I just want to make sure you guys are leaving feeling better about all of this. So we went over video, we went over polls, and now we're going to finish with long form content. Now, you have options here. You can do a post, which is now up to 3,000 characters, which is fairly long. If you want to write an article, you can do that. If you have a LinkedIn newsletter, you can convert it into a newsletter edition. So I just want to hear from you guys. Type in the chat. Do you most likely do posts, articles, or newsletters? What do you guys typically do as far as written content? I just want to hear from you. Posts, articles, awesome. Posts and newsletters, awesome. Okay, so stick with what's comfortable for you. If it's most comfortable doing LinkedIn posts, do it. If you want to do a smattering of all the different kinds, you want to do a post 1 week, you want to do an article the week after, you want to do a newsletter edition the week after that, have fun with it. It's yours, right? But if you're doing a post, you can't go over 3,000 characters. So if you have a lot to say, if you want to get really kind of granular into what you want to talk about, that's where you would want to utilize LinkedIn articles or newsletter editions if you want to go a little bit deeper and obviously more lengthy. You want to make sure that your topic is in all caps to grab the attention of your ideal client. So when you are writing your post, that the title should be in all caps. You want to stop the scroll, right? You hear that all the time. You want to stop people's scroll. So you want to grab their attention with having that title of your post in all caps. The second thing is you always relate yourself to the topic before you give your tips or advice, just like your video, right? You want the reader to know that you've been there, you've done that, and you've overcome it. Again, it's about relatability. It's making sure that the connections that we have that are engaging in our content relate to what we're saying, right? We want to make sure that we're relating to our audience and vice versa. And then just like your video, you're going to give 3 tips that can be applied to their business without asking anything back in return. You have to give in order to get, right? So again, going off of the example I gave you before, I could write a post about 2 ways or 3 ways of generating organic leads online. I can give a couple sentences of where I was struggling and what I did to improve it. And here are 3 tips of how you can do the same. Number 1, little description. Number 2, little description. Number 3, little description. Done. Then you finish with a similar call to action to increase engagement. The funny thing is, I can't tell you, one of the simplest things that you guys can do is finish with a call to action at the end of your content. If you want people to engage, ask them to engage. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they will, but if you ask them to, there's a good chance they will. Comment below, what was your biggest takeaway? So if everybody is clear on the video, poll, post strategy, just drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Just want to make sure. Awesome. So can LinkedIn really work for you? Yeah, 100%. It's been our biggest revenue generator. I can't even tell you. I mean, that's why I'm still doing this 11 years later. When you use LinkedIn properly, you can have massive results for life. This one platform that you need to start leveraging right now can solve all your business issues. It's the cure-all for not having people to talk to and not people engaging in your content. But here's the simple truth. Entrepreneurship and business, no matter what business you're in, is all about rapport building. It's all about relationship building, and it's all about trust building. But just remember this. There is one aspect of business that has no ClickFunnels, no opt-in, or no email sequence for, and that is human connection. The number one way to build any business, the best business tool that you could ever utilize, is sitting in your back pocket right now. It is your innate ability to create organic human connection with other people. And those that create the most human connection each and every day are the ones that are going to win. Now, I just want to thank everyone again for being a part of part 1 of 3 parts of today's training. Again, one last time, Tatiana is going to drop into the chat. Again, I've got a free ticket for anyone that wants to come to my continuing education learning workshop next week, and anyone that wants those free resources, you can email me. So the link is there, my email is there. And again, we have some questions to answer. So any questions that you have, we have about 8 or 9 minutes left, or however many questions come in. Again, as you ask questions, put them in the Q&A box, and we are going to handle those now. So Tatiana, if you want to open up the Q&A, we can get to some rapid fire questions.
All right. I also want to mention that there's a lot of people on Facebook, so I'm going to be on both screens. We have over 73 people that have joined us on Facebook.
Oh, cool.
Across all of our channels, so I'm on both screens. So
multitasking at its finest.
If I take a pause, it's because I'm trying to see if anyone's over there. But yes, if you have any questions, drop it in the Q&A section here on Zoom, or if you're on Facebook, put it in any of the comments section on whatever group you're on, and I'll see if I can get to them. So let's go ahead and start with Randy. Let's see, is this Is this focused to optimize LinkedIn for job searching or to get new clients for business?
Yeah, I mean, whatever your sole purpose is for LinkedIn, you can use it for whatever you want to use it for. So I've worked with job seekers before, and I'll give you an example. There was a client of mine that I was working with. He was pivoting out of one industry to the next, and he said, "How can I position myself as a potential value added employee for a company that could be looking for someone like me?" And I said, "Well, first, you got to build the right types of connections and start networking with those people. But number two, start providing value added content that is within the industry that you want to be a part of, where if someone from that company sees it, they're going to be like, man, this person has some good educational and information based on XYZ industry. We should see if they're open to being hired, or if they're looking to make some pivots." So your content should also be positioning yourself as an expert or thought leader in the space that you're in.
Perfect. And then just kind of continuing on that, John wanted to know the material you talked about, is it mainly for small businesses or can these be used for networking?
Oh, yeah, for networking, jobs, everything. Yeah, so it's not just for small businesses, it's for everybody.
All right. From Michael, I have used LinkedIn as my online resume. How do I switch to now using it for business?
So, yeah, and that's a very common thing. There's a lot of people that have used it for their online resume. So what I would say is really just go back and think about what is my objective of what I want to get out of LinkedIn. So there's a lot of people that use LinkedIn for just general business networking. There's people that use it for, job searching and looking for things. But you have to understand is that an army of two is twice as strong as an army of one. So LinkedIn should be your connecting and networking tool. It's where you need to connect with other colleagues, other people in your space. So yes, it's still important for you to have those necessary things listed on your LinkedIn profile, but you should be networking. You should be providing value added content. You should be looking to take conversations from online to offline. So don't just treat it as a resume. Treat it as a networking event. Every single day you log on there is an opportunity for you to connect and network with other people. And that's the time that you should be spent doing it.
All right. And then there's anonymous one that wants to know if you have any examples of doing videos and posting.
Well, again, the example I gave is, again, sticking within your zone of genius, the things that you teach and know best, right? So areas of struggle for a product, a service, or the business and industry that you're in. And it's making sure that your content is all structured around that. Everything that you create not just should be value added, it should be educational and informative. So when you're doing a video, give a tip. It could be simple business tips. When you're doing a poll, make sure it's a market research poll where it's a known pain point. So any video that you do should pour value into those that actually listen to it. So it could be a very general business tip. It could be a very simple thing that you've done to help you maybe excel on the career path that you're in. So all you're doing is giving people a peek into things that have worked for you that could work for them.
All right. And then just kind of continuing on with the content, Michael wants to know, should I post the same content to LinkedIn that's on my website or blog?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love repurposing. So if you have blogs that are on your website that are value added, they're informative, and they build the know, like, and trust, 100% repurpose it onto LinkedIn. I love that strategy.
All right. Jesse, have you found groups helpful, or are you mostly posting straight from your profile?
I'm mostly posting straight from my profile, but where I have found the most value in groups is actually conducting polls in highly engaged groups like Network After Work, because for me as a business owner and someone that provides services and courses, I want to always stay on top of what people are struggling most with. So if there's something that I need to change in my marketing strategy, or the offerings that I have, the best way to do that is to get that market research. So if you're going to be in groups, instead of just posting stuff, use it as a way to conduct market research by asking questions, using those LinkedIn poll questions to the groups that you're in.
All right. Okay. What is the best way to leverage the groups on LinkedIn? Should I post the same content on my profile and on a group page?
So you can, do posts. Again, I've tried it all. I've tried sharing my newsletter editions into groups. I've tried posting in groups. What I'll tell you is that the only piece of content that I have seen consistently do well as far as organic engagement are LinkedIn polls. So I'll repeat it from what I said before. If you're going to post in groups, conduct a market research poll where you're really finding out what that group is struggling with. Because again, then people can connect with you back on your main profile. And if they're finding value in the content that you're actually putting out there, it's a way to start forming a genuine connection with them.
Okay. I'm going to go over to Facebook quick because there was a question that came over that I kind of liked. It says, any thoughts on LinkedIn influencers? Is LinkedIn becoming an Instagram platform?
It's not becoming an Instagram platform. And again, the word influencer, I think that's just very overused. I believe that there's a big difference between being an educator and an influencer. You see people on LinkedIn that have these large follow. I mean, people look at me and they're like, are you I have like 30,000 followers. They think I'm an influencer. I'm not. I'm an educator and an information resource. And it's grown over time. But you'll see people on there that have like 100,000 somewhat followers, and there's nothing special about their content. So they may be in an engagement pod that's building their following. I would kind of just flush the word influencer down the toilet, kind of focus on being an educational and information resource. And I'm a big believer in quality over quantity. It's not the amount of people, it's the quality of people that you can actually engage and leave better in a positive way.
Perfect. Bruce wants to know, do you have any thoughts about backgrounds for videos?
Yeah, I mean, this is my background. It's, I have a kind of studio. It's kind of like my home office. Some people do like to have a virtual background. Again, I have a couple of my LinkedIn books and, some accolades. So again, you can choose what's best for you. I have just found that like when some people use the virtual backgrounds, it like cuts off their ears. So it doesn't look like you have the ears, or, it cuts off part of their head. Some people like to put bookshelves back there. It's really what's best for you. I always remind people, it's not about what people see behind you. It's what they hear coming out of your mouth and what they see from you. So again, don't so much focus on the background stuff. It's the content that you're providing that people care about most.
All right, last question from Michael. Does it make sense to have a separate personal and business page on LinkedIn?
100%. I have both, but you always want to be creating your content from your personal and then resharing it to your company page, because the most organic engagement you're going to get is from your personal. So just make sure that when you are producing content, it's from your personal and then reshare it to your company page. And again, one last thing before we sign off, Tatiana is going to drop in the chat one last time. Anyone that wants the bonus workshop next week that I've created for all of you, you just click on the link that she drops in the chat. Anyone that wants the resources, she's going to drop my email. And again, you guys can, obviously feel free to email me and just type resources in the subject line, or just click on that link and you can get registered for next week's training. And again, Tatiana, thank you so much for having me on here today. I love doing these. And thank you to all the people that showed up today, and great questions, great engagement. And, my number one wish is I hope you guys took away a lot from this and are now a little bit more comfortable with the strategy that you have for creating content on LinkedIn. And just remember, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Just take it one step at a time each and every day, and you will achieve everything that you want.